Welcome back to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with San Diego businesses and the key people that are working hard to make a difference in our community. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here on KFSD AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. Okay, we're back, and we have our first guest with us, Jon Hamby from Red Strategies. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you start out, tell us where the name Red Strategies came from.
Oh, it was a breakfast meeting at 7 a.m. when I don't think very clearly, for starters. Yeah, Red was just intended to be an acronym, Real Estate Decisions, and its only purpose really was a marketing strategy to stick in people's names, and it's worked so far.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good. So tell us a little bit about what you do. You're in the commercial side, correct?
We're on the commercial side of real estate. It's you got some guys that represent homeowners and sell houses, and then you got some guys that represent landlords in the commercial space, and then you've got us, and we only work with tenants. So it's a little bit different spin on the real estate industry in general. On the commercial side, we specialize in negotiating and renegotiating leases.
Mm-hmm. So tell me something. What we talked about before the show, you do something quite unique that kind of separates you from your competition.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
When we opened our doors, we decided that the real estate industry in a lot of ways was broken. It's kind of a dinosaur industry in general. And what happens with a lot of tenants is that landlords pass through operating expenses to tenants above what you pay in your rent. And it's usually baked into a round number that you pay at the end of the quarter or the end of the year. And what we found is that oftentimes those are slush funds. There's probably a better way of saying that in the accounting world, but a lot of these pass-throughs are erroneous. And so we've established a forensic lease audit team, and we go into companies' leases and ensure that what was previously negotiated is actually what they're receiving. And in some cases, we've saved single entities hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in erroneous pass-throughs.
There's a general lack of discipline on that. You know, in my own case, I've had years where they forgot about the pass-throughs.
Yeah.
But they don't forget forever.
Right. And then all of a sudden you get stuck with a big bill.
Big bill,
right.
Yeah. No. What are some examples of the pass-throughs? Because I always thought that for commercial real estate, you pay X amount of dollars per square foot, and that includes everything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know there was any additional cost in the form of pass-throughs. What is that?
Well, you have two different types of leases in commercial real estate. So the first is a triple net lease where all of your operating expenses are excluded from the base rent. It's kind of an a la carte program where you pay your base rent and then separately you're paying your taxes, your maintenance, your insurance, etc., your utility bills, all of that. In a gross lease, and depending on what type of gross lease it is, all of those operating expenses are built into the rent. And then you have what's called a base year. And this gets a little bit more complex, but the short story is that you're charged a pro rata share of operating expenses for the entire building above your base year. Oftentimes, these operating expenses can include anything from common area light bulbs and toilet paper for common area restrooms to lighting, janitorial. I mean, the list is endless, and every landlord looks at it a little differently, and every lease calls it out a little differently. And so on the brokerage side, when you're representing a tenant and you're negotiating a lease, you're taking a hard look, hopefully your broker's taking a hard look at the operating expense statement and the operating expense section in the lease and making sure that certain items are crossed out.
You don't want to be paying for some other tenant's Starbucks.
Right. Well, and not just other tenants' Starbucks, but it could be a bonus that the property manager got that year that gets passed through as an operating expense to the tenants. Things like that shouldn't be included in most commercial leases oftentimes are. And so we're able to go through and take a look at these expenses and see what has been passed through to these companies that shouldn't be. One example that strikes me is last year we did this forensic lease audit for a public company, and we found that the landlord had gotten a tax basis reassessment where he saved a couple $100,000 in taxes, but he kept passing through the old tax basis. And the tenant, they had no idea. So we went in and we found that this landlord was saving money, but he was still passing through the old tax basis, and he was making a couple $100,000 extra each year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Is this something that's typically done manually, or is there a special software package you've written? Is it just one-on-one?
No, it's a team of forensic accountants and attorneys that we work with hand in hand to make sure that whatever we've negotiated is what the tenant's actually receiving. And oftentimes we can turn this around and start with a forensic lease audit where people have a real estate relationship already, but they don't know if what they're receiving is actually fair. And we can go in and help them to create that sense of checks and balances and use that as leverage to negotiate the next real estate deal with that landlord.
Do you ever come up against some resistance from people?
We always come up with resistance.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what we
because
do.
because I would imagine these landlords would be like, oh, gee, I can't find my receipts for what what we were passing through. How do you deal with that?
Well, there's a long answer to that question, but we have legal remedies to be able to access that information. And the long and short of it for tenants is that if you're in a gross lease where you don't control your own operating expenses, between 80 and 90% of the time, there are erroneous pass-throughs. And what we can help companies do is decipher which ones are worth asking for rebates on and which ones are red herrings, where no matter how much you fight, you're still not going to win. And we've done over 50,000 lease audits, so we're getting pretty good at this.
50,000.
Yeah.
Wow. How many do you do? You must do a lot a year then.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've got a full service team that only does this, and that's just one component of what we're doing. The majority of my time is spent negotiating real estate deals, and so what most company owners, what most business owners oftentimes don't understand is that real estate can be as complex as you want it to be or as easy as you want it to be. You can call off of a sign and get a lease tomorrow and sign it, but it doesn't mean you're getting a good deal. Where good deals come into play, where good lease transactions and purchase transactions come into play, is when somebody knows how to go in and create leverage. And leverage is not usually something that's just sitting there waiting to be used. You have to go out and find it. You have to negotiate with multiple building owners to get those really aggressive rates and free rent packages and tenant improvements and furniture and all of the things that go into putting a company into a building. And we're able to use our in-depth knowledge of the San Diego and Southern California real estate market and use all of the moving pieces to help one individual tenant create a better deal for themselves, whether they move or whether they renew their lease.
Yeah, that's great. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KFSD AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts, Andrea Kay and Al Arias, and our guest, Jon Hamby. You said the key word for me, because everything that we do, whenever we're trying to do things for clients, I was taught many years ago, you never get wealthy saving money. You get wealthy leveraging the money that you have, and leverage is the key. So that's great. So forensic lease audits, what's the average savings that you give clients when you really dig into them?
I would have to look at the numbers. We've saved over our history, our lease audit team has saved about $600 million in total erroneous or operating expense pass-throughs. I'm not sure how that would break down into the individual lease audits.
Crazy.
wow,
Yeah,
that is a crazy
It's a lot of
number.
money.
Well, one of the things that's also different about you guys, the way you work, is, as you were telling us before the show, is that you guys are all senior principals. So you don't have follow the typical practice, which is, the top guys go out and razzle dazzle and then get the client, and then they're handed off to,
Joey Broker.
Yeah, you said it, I didn't.
Yeah, well, our firm is comprised of high-level principals. We've all come from some of the largest real estate companies in the world. And most of us have operated on both sides of the commercial real estate deal. I used to represent landlords and sellers. And so I got a feel for how they underwrite a real estate transaction, where those pressure points are, and how to go and find them and create that leverage we were just talking about. And now that we only focus on representing tenants, we're able to use that knowledge against the landlords and for the tenants. A landlord's business is real estate. And so whether you know them and have a great relationship with them or not, their job is to make money in their real estate. Our job is to help you not have to spend all that money to save it. Imagine what you can do if you save 30% on your real estate costs, and real estate's typically your second or third largest expense. That's a front desk job for somebody. It's more marketing, it's more R&D. These are significant savings. These are significant numbers for most companies. And when we can go in and show how leverage can be used effectively to use their real estate as a lever versus an anchor, allowing companies to expand and contract while saving money according to their business plan, it's a very effective strategy.
How does a guy from Pennsylvania who recently came to Southern California in 2003, I mean, most kids don't grow up in Pennsylvania and say, I want to be a commercial real estate broker when I grow up. How did that happen for you?
It kind of evolved. I owned a company in Pennsylvania through college. I was a musician, and I had sold 50,000 original albums at the time. And I came out of college and moved out here and met some guys up in Rancho Santa Fe.
Okay.
And we hit it off well. And over time, I was mentored into this business. And I worked for some of the largest real estate companies in the world. And got a chance to see how it was all done and decided that, and rightly so, real estate is a very one-on-one relationship business. And on the tenant side, you don't need huge marketing budgets or platforms. And so
Sorry, Al.
the big...
Everybody needs
Everybody
marketing.
needs
He
marketing.
said huge.
That's right, he did.
Yeah, and you do need marketing for your own firm, but we don't peddle properties. We don't market
Right.
space.
Right.
If a tenant comes to us and says we're looking to move, we show them everything in the market, not just our own listings, because we don't have any.
Right.
So for us, it's very much about what the business plan calls for. If this business needs flexibility over the next X number of years and they need to be able to phase into a building, we can negotiate that. If they need to be able to terminate at a certain time, we're most of the time able to negotiate that. There's all kinds of elements of commercial real estate lease or purchase agreement that don't have numbers associated with them but still have monetary value to a tenant. And so helping businesses understand how to use these lease documents effectively and save money is what we've specialized in.
Yeah, getting into the forensic side, you can certainly learn a lot. I mean, what I do for a living, I dig into people's, finances, and I see where they came from, where they're at, where they want to go, and build a plan. It sounds like this is what's going on with the real estate side.
Yeah.
Were you also a musician, though?
No.
No, you were never a musician?
No. There's many things you want to see me do. Singing is not one of them.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
No singing.
No
So-
singing. And you were also, in addition to being a musician and a commercial real estate shark, if you will, you're also a paragliding pilot,
I
right?
was-
Or at least you were. Tell us about that.
I was a paragliding pilot for a short time here in San Diego, and it was awesome. I mean, it's something that you can do in whatever spare time you have, and just completely unplug for a while. And I haven't paraglided in quite a while now, but it's something I look back fondly on. It's a great memory.
Yeah, this was supposed to be close up on San Diego business, and Andrea's taken a sidetrack here today, so I think we have to really, really watch out today.
We can reel it back in.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, John, tell our listeners how they get a hold of you.
Sure. Our website is red-strategies.com. We do have a hyphenated website, so red-strategies.com or info@red-strategies.com is the email address. 619-796-6733. 619-796-6733. And I'll just note real quickly that we are paid by landlords as a portion of a real estate expense. And so our clients don't have to pay us.
So,
Which is excellent.
When people call you, they save money.
People call me and save money, and they don't have to spend it on us.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, you're
Thanks
welcome.
for being on.
Great. Okay, you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego businesses and the people that are working to make a difference in our community. This is financialnewsandtalk.com. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, and we'll be right back after the break with more homegrown business Close Up and an interview with Jack White from Ballast Point Brewing and Spirits.